introspective,
Yes.
but like it's weird. Like
Yeah.
I can't even explain it. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
It's cool. I think we all have our own styles, and we're all like, I mean, a lot of us are newer to making music, so we're still trying to find like how we want to be perceived on a track as well, because it's like it's hard because like you have yourself and like who you are, and then you have like your music persona, and then you have like the technical portion of it. So you're like trying to blend all these things, and whenever you're kind of like first making music, you're trying to understand how do I want to be perceived on the track, but then also how do I want to express myself on the track, you know?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think like a lot of the time, like I have an idea of how I want to sound. Like there's sounds that I like, and then I hear myself and what I'm capable of, and I'm like, okay, that sound's gonna have to transform into something completely different. So I get what you're saying. I think that's kind of like the beauty in me diving into like solo type or like just non-choral type music for the first time is like when in choir, like you're taught to match everyone around you, and
Right.
it's all about the group. And now, like, yes, I'm on a track with other artists, but like it's just my voice by itself,
Right.
and then other people, and they might layer, they might not.
Right,
Like,
exactly. And it's like, and you have to kind of figure out like where you belong on the track as well.
Yeah.
And even when we freestyle on it, we kind of like, we're also still trying to find out like, how do we even go about making a song? Because there's 100,000 different ways to approach making a song.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like, what's also interesting is that your vision for this song might be different from my vision, which might be different from Scott's vision, which you kind of all have to like come to a consensus, or just kind of throw some stuff together and then sit with it and then be like, you know, from my part specifically, where do I think I can improve? And then maybe if I hear your part or Scott's part being like, hey, what do you guys think about doing this to your part? Or what do you guys think about adding this? And just like that collaborativeness, like on a track.
Yeah. I really liked I think a really good example of that was when I forget his name. It starts with an S.
Samson.
Samson.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it. Samson. He said like I feel like these really hopeful vibes, and it was cool to hear that because I'm like, oh, I'm straight up in my feelings. I'm talking about like a heartbreak and like a time when like, you know, it was like the first thing I thought about was like, this song reminds me of a song I listened to when I was going through a tough time. I had a heartbreak, and I was thinking about that specific person, and I thought about doing something I wasn't supposed to do, like, you know, text them and be like, hey, you know, it's like, and in my verse, I write about that. I write about it. I write like, there's a part of the verse where I write, like, you know how I did like the funny Drake intro? I wrote that instead of just freestyling that. And I said, and it like bleeds into the verse. It's like, it makes me think I should, or it makes me think about doing something I shouldn't and calling you insane. And then the verse starts.
Okay.
Calling you insane. And it's like everything I'm thinking about, like if a non-sober me were to call you, I would say all this stuff.
Right.
And like try and get back together or something, you know, something like that. Just kind of in your feelings,
right? And then creating like a story and an atmosphere, setting the setting, you know, like or setting the scene for like what you're about to experience. I think is important too, because as a listener, if you just have like a bunch of randomness thrown at you, like sometimes you can kind of decipher it and then get with the vibe. But what's really important is like setting the scene, and I think that, oh, dude, I'm really excited to hear that intro.
Wait, have we started?
Yeah, we're going to have like a little candid conversation. Hey, you know, this is a great segue. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Create Yourself podcast. We have your boy, Anthony, a.k.a. Antics here. And this man is extremely multifaceted. We've known each other for a good amount of time. He is technically, by technicality, my big brother, or my Kuya. And just kind of tell the people a little bit about yourself, what you dabble in, and who you are.
Man, great intro. So, like he said, I'm Antics. You know, here with the swole on the front. If you guys watch my YouTube or anything, that's kind of like my saying. And I guess to start there, my YouTube kind of started with a little bit more of like lifestyle creation, and I was at that point I was kind of trying to hide like my nerdy side. Like I was streaming Fortnite, I was playing card games professionally on the side, but nobody knew except for like,
wow, I didn't know that either.
yeah, a lot of people didn't know. Like I played Yu-Gi-Oh professionally for almost 10 years. Like I got invited to nationals 5 years in a row. Yeah, I used to keep that on the back burner, and now like with Digimon, if you go to my YouTube, you see like, oh, he has the lifestyle stuff where he's talking about food, sneakers, clothing, fashion, but he also has these Digimon videos.
Right.
And so my intro changes. If you ever pay attention, like I say, swole on, fro on, and if you need the explainer, I'm the lifestyle trainer, and that will be a traditional antics video. But if I say I'm the alpha tamer, it's a play on words for a Digimon thing, and that's my Digimon intro.
Yeah.
So like people who like will be following, they'll know like they'll know if they see like the thumbnail and the title, but you'll know by the intro like, okay, this is the kind of content he's gonna go into.
That's smart.
Yeah. So I really want to just have an outlet for everything I like to do.
Right.
Rather that be my nerdy stuff, my fitness, my fashion, food, all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And not to mention as well, like on top of YouTube, he is an amazing athlete. Man, was Olympic bound. Okay. That's how, and he can turn the burners on. Okay. Also, he is, you're a streamer.
I am.
You stream. You stream Digimon. I don't know if you do stream games as well.
Yeah.
You streaming Minecraft the other day.
I was streaming Minecraft the other day. Once I get a stronger computer, I'll probably stream Apex. I just want to be really a variety streamer.
Right.
And then once like my fitness content kind of takes off a little bit more, I want to do like just chatting streams where like people can come in
that's awesome.
for personal training advice. They can be like, I'm a male, 6'5", 240 pounds, looking to cut some weight. I have about this much muscle mass. And I'm like, well, this is what I would recommend.
Right.
Maybe starting this type of activity, just different things.
Right.
Like I wanna just everything I do, I would just want to do it all on all my platforms. So.
And I think that's something that like will be an amazing kind of topic and thing that we can kind of discuss today. We talked about a little bit earlier, but kind of discussing how to balance all of your passions, and, being multifaceted, being able to, okay, I want to be able to stream, but I also, want to do fitness content. But I also really love playing card games and Digimon and video games. But now I'm trying to get into music and do these things. So it's like being able to balance all of those things and feel like you kind of create a space for that. I think that's the hardest part, because you have all these separate things that you like to do, but you're creating a brand and an outlet that kind of like connects all of them together.
Yeah. I think my name helps so much, and it wasn't ever supposed to be like that, but like antics, when you think about that by definition, it's like, it can be categorized as anything, like any random, nonsense going on.
Right.
And I think that's perfect for who I am as a person, because it's like, people ask me all the time, once they figure out one new thing about me, they're like, what didn't you do? I get that question all the time.
Right.
Literally, my manager asked me 2 weeks ago when I told them, like, I played table tennis for a club team in college. He's like, wait, what didn't you do? You were college football, professional track athlete, table tennis, ultimate frisbee, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Like those things are so like far from each other, right? With the exception of maybe football and track. But like that's what I love about my name, because it was never supposed to be like that, but it's a perfect definition of who I am.
Kind of all just like, were you always like that? Like even as a kid, did you just have like a bunch of different hobbies and passions that you were interested in?
I've always been like my thing. I think I said it earlier, a jack of all trades, a master of none. But my thing was, if it looked interesting, I wanted to go do it. Like I told you and Nick Scott, like I want to learn to dance. Yeah, that looks great. Being able to express yourself, I can't do that, so I want to do that. And like, there's so many things in my life that started just as that. It's like, that looks cool, I want to try it. That looks cool, I want to try it. So
and so like, I guess the question that I have is, when it comes to narrowing down your focus into certain ones that you want to take, I guess, seriously? How do you know like when that line is there, you know?
That's a great question. I think it just really depends on like what realm did I enter it. So for example, with Ultimate Frisbee, that was like a very much more like, oh, I did a season with the club team to learn it, and now I'm with this organization who needs somebody to lead it. I have the time, so I'm gonna lead it for this event, you know, leading up to this event, and that's what that is gonna be. With track and field, it's the one activity that I started in the 4th grade and I never stopped, and it was my favorite thing to do. And I did an interview once, and they asked, you know, why track and field? Like, why do you like sprinting? And I told them it's the closest thing I'll ever feel to being a superhero. Think about the percentage of people who can like move at, you know, a sub 11-second speed in the world.
Right.
And you're like in a very minute amount of them, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like you're almost a superhero
Yeah.
in that regard. Like you're doing something almost superhuman.
Right.
And so that's something I knew I'd never get tired of ever since I was a kid. And I, from literally 4th grade up to now, like I've always been a sprinter.
You're clean for that. I have to tell everyone this story because I always talk about it with people. So this is a great, like, now I can like say it on a podcast, because I remember like playing flag back in college with you. And I still remember, because I've always known that, you know, you're obviously an amazing athlete and you're a sprinter, but I guess seeing it in a sport, like actually like a functional, right? Like where it's not just like I'm running, you know, on a track, but I'm actually using this in combination in the sport. And I'll never forget, I think you got either thrown the ball or you grabbed the ball as like a running back. And I remember as soon as you grabbed the ball, it was like literally like if you've seen like My Hero, the dude with the freaking the turbos on.
Yeah.
As soon as you grab, you're like, boom, and you just, I've never seen somebody like grab something and not need like some time to like get momentum to go quick. You just immediately, and it was like you went from 0 to just quick. And when I saw you, I was like, no one's guarding that man. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Like I said, man, like being fast is just fun.
Yeah.
Like that's all it's ever come down to for me. And like if I ever kind of knew how to do something, like I always wanted to do it as much as I can, you know, see how far I can go. But like I said earlier, with like it depends on which realm I entered it in, you know, that would kind of like navigate where it was gonna go for me as well. So
that's really interesting too. And have you ever thought about like, I mean, I guess it seems like you don't like really see an end goal to any of those things. It's like I'm just gonna keep doing it, and then maybe you might set like little goals along the way as to like fun things that you would like to accomplish within those like areas or realms, but you never have like okay, I'm gonna try to do it up to this level, and if that doesn't work out, I'm just gonna stop, or like I need to like it's like, man, this is fun, like this is kind of what's pulling me right now, and I'm just gonna go for that and see how you can like put it into what you're currently, like the world that you already have, like where does it fit in?
Yeah, I mean, I got the question once. They're like, let's say you make it to Olympics, you win gold medal, what's next? I'm like, I'm gonna keep running. It's because yes, that's a goal, and it would be so cool to say like, for this year, I was the fastest man on the planet. Right. Which would be incredible. But to say like, and then after that, I continued running because I love it so much. Right. You know, it's the same thing with, I mean, all my hobbies. Like, I'll still like play pickup games of Ultimate Frisbee. I just recently picked back up table tennis. Digimon I'm playing right now, and it's like, you know, nationals is in January. Let's say I go win nationals. There's a team I recently got sponsored by, Luxury Gaming, and they asked in the interview before they like made me sign the contract. They were like, so like, where do you see yourself in a year? Like, let's say, you're coming to this team so you can learn to be a champion. What happens after that? I'm like, I'm gonna keep playing the game because I love playing the game. Like all of my hobbies, all the things I do, they're not goal oriented. They're like self-fulfilling oriented, you know? Like it's all just, it's a piece of like life for me.
Yeah.
And I guess I can kind of segue into the question you had about how do you fit all of it in.
Yeah.
So back when I used to stream Fortnite, I was basically streaming full time, and it became like another job. And that's when I realized I didn't want to create content like that, because everything that I did outside of work, every hobby I had, it needed to be that, because that is my outlet. That is how I stay sane, so to speak. You know, so I didn't have time when it was my job. But when I dialed back and said, oh, I don't have to stream 25 hours a week so I can make, you know, $250 to $500 a month to pay this bill, versus like, oh, I can stream, I have free time on Wednesday, I'm going to stream Minecraft for 2 hours and not have to worry about anything. It's just my hobby. So it was important for me, just me specifically, and I have friends who they're on like a different side of that. They don't agree. It's important for me to not have those hobbies be a job. Track and field would have been different. Like if it pays for, it's the number one thing I love. So if it paid for everything, then I'm a do it. You know what I mean? But those other things, they have to stay a hobby. And, you know, I have a buddy who said, like, I'm at a stage in my life where if this thing isn't fulfilling me financially, I can't waste time on it. And I felt that. I'm like, I like that grind mentality, but that's not for me. That's not the space for me. I have my money time and I have my me time, and my me time is super important to me.
I really love that, because I think, and I'm speaking like generally in this day and age, I think it's like, it feels like you have to pick one and make it your job. You know, like say for example, like that's what I've kind of been learning, like with the podcast, with my art, with music, with all these things. I felt like I need to make this like my thing, where it's going to be a financial investment on myself. And like, I almost felt like I needed to take them all too seriously. And it took the fun out of everything. Yeah. And then it becomes, I'm working all the time. But like you said, when you kind of distinguished it from being, you have work and the things that you need to do financially to take care of business, but then you have the you time you, and saying, I need to keep these things as a hobby.
I have to.
Do you ever fall back into the mentality or mindset of it becoming a job again?
I try to be as self-aware of it as I can. When I start getting too strict and making like schedules for myself, I think like, why am I making this schedule? Am I making it because I feel like I have to, or like I feel like I have to from a financial standpoint, or because I want to, or because I have to like fulfill that piece on that week or on that day or something like that, you know? I try to be as aware of it as possible. But I've also grown to the point where, like, I'm not trying to avoid, like, making money. Right. And I think that's what it kind of turned into, which I'm like, don't be dumb. Like, if you can have money from this, like, if you get enough, you know, viewers on YouTube, and, like, you're going to be putting a video out anyways, and you're going to get some kind of kickback for that, then take it kind of thing. But don't make that the goal. Make the goal just expressing. Make the goal just creating. And that creation is such a big part of like who I am, and how like I enjoy life. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I think that's going to help a lot of people, because I mean, it helped me, because I think that I struggle with that a lot, is being like, you know, I almost have like this internal pressure, or this like internal clock that I always feel like I need to make something happen with this. Like the longer that I'm in this, you know, whatever might happen, right? Yeah. And I fall back into it so often, because I think that I have never really had the self-awareness or vocabulary to articulate like, oh, I'm doing this for me. You know, I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing this because it's fun, because I like it, not because it needs to be something, not because the goal is, I need to drop an album. I need to do this. I need to drop this podcast this season. It should just be, Oh man, like, actually, one thing you told me a while ago that always stuck with me was, I remember I asked you, how can I be more consistent with working out, and how can I like actually enjoy it?
I know exactly.
And you were like, well, the way I look at it is I get to do this. I get to work out. I get to move my body. I get to do that. And I think whenever you said that, I was like, that's really true. Like you have the privilege to move your body, to work, to work out, to, use your body. And where do you feel like you got that mentality from?
I think it kind of goes back to like that track and field era. Like as a kid, like when fourth grade hit and I went out for my first independent track team, I think my dad said something like, "Oh, you get to run today," and I was like, I get to run today, right? And because I loved it so much, it was always that for me. Like I get to do this, and going forward, like. Even when it started turning into, oh, you have to do this to stay in shape, you have to do this, like, it just was always like I get to. Like, because I would see, people not as fortunate, like disabled kids or, anything of the like, people who, that wasn't for them for whatever reason. And, like, I guess I was just always really hyper aware. And, like, even to this day, with, like, my degree being in kinesiology, exercise science, I'm going back into the fitness field now. I'm infinitely hyper aware of the I get to. I just had surgery last year. For 6 months, I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I remember before my surgery, like everywhere I go, I take the stairs. And everybody's like, "Aunt, there's an escalator right here." I'm like, "Bro, I'm not gonna be able to walk for 6 months, so let me take these stairs, like while I can." And that made me even more like appreciative. Once I was able to like move again, I'm like,
Absolutely.
"Oh, I can't wait to do this. Can't wait to get up in the morning and run."
Right.
It's not always that easy.
Right.
There's those days where you just kind of want to just sit back in your chair, play some video games. But like sometimes like that next day you feel that like almost remorse of like, man, I didn't do it. But it not from a like I didn't do it. Now I gotta like work that much harder. It's like, man, I didn't take full advantage of my day on this earth.
Yep.
Because our days, it's a short life. Life is short. Do what you like to do and do it to the most. That's like my thing.
And I think like, when it comes to fitness, so like, cause you're an expert on fitness. What if I don't like working out? What if I don't like, doing those things? Say, for example, I'm gonna use me as an example, right? I work out and I do these things, and maybe it's just a mindset shift, but cause I feel like I need to do it to keep up with my health, so I can do other things, but a lot of the stuff that I want to do is inside. It's like making music is inside, art inside, all these things inside. And sometimes it's so hard for me to actually want to go out and work out and actually apply myself physically. Yeah. So what kind of advice would you have for people who are just like, well, my life revolves around these other things because fitness is so important and health is so important?
That's such a good question. And it's tough sometimes because like, that question is so relatable for so many people. And like, I've just never really been in that space with the exception of, okay, I love to sprint. I hate distance running. Hate it. But like my goals were, I wanted my goals enough to like, bite the bullet
and do it,
run the distance when I have to run the distance. And like, I don't like weights as much as I like sprinting. Right. But like when I go lift, it's like, I'm going to do this for my health, for my strength. I like the other things it does do for me as far as my health and like aesthetics too.
Right. You
look
good. You look good. Dakota, throw some pictures.
Oh man. No, I think finding your why is super important. Yeah. And really defining the why and how much it means to you. And also just maybe exploring what options you have as far as activity. Like everyone thinks they need to go lift weights specifically. While resistance training is amazing for almost everyone on the planet and like it has a ton of health benefits, maybe it's not for you in that season of your life. Maybe you have to find a different type of activity, something you like. You know, when Zumba had its crazy growth, it was because there were people who like to like casually dance, but they didn't like to work out. And it's like, oh, I get to get my workout in and go dance, like these routines, you know? And you think about, man, I'm trying to think of other things. Like some people just like to walk.
Yeah.
You know? And when research, you know, was shown to like have these types of benefits with walking, like people are like, oh, I'm gonna walk more.
Right.
So like I would say the best advice I could give is finding your why, making sure it's important to you, categorizing how important it is to you, and then find your outlet for that. Like what's gonna help you work towards that why in a at least semi-enjoyable way. And then once it becomes a routine, it becomes easy.
Right. And I think that's the hardest part is making something a routine. I think for myself, when I think about fitness and my kind of journey with it, it's been difficult because I was in gymnastics all throughout high school, and then in college I was doing dance. You know, and even throughout all that, I was dancing as well, and just b-boying and stuff like that. Well, then whenever I graduated and things started to progress, and I noticed that, you know, I can't do the things that I've always been able to do, right? Like I can't just go and session every day because all of a sudden now my wrists hurt a little bit more, and I have to be more aware of that. I didn't want to like injure myself, if that makes sense. And also say if I do injure myself, and now I have to go into other forms of exercise to keep myself in shape, I feel like the things that I've done are so hyper, like, I don't know, not harm the body, but they're just very like activity-based working out, right? Whether it be dancing, whether it be flipping, doing all these kind of like parkour things.
High impact stuff. Okay.
And that's what I love to do to move.
Yeah.
But whenever I don't have that anymore, I'm like, I don't want to work out. I don't want to do these things because I only want to do these things because they're so fun to me. Yeah. Right? It's like if you weren't able to sprint anymore, but you have to do other things instead. Oh yeah. You're like, I don't want to do it. Like I don't want to do it because I just want to do the things I love to do. Yeah. So what kind of, and I know that you kind of went through that too, right? Like whenever you had your surgery and all that kind of stuff, you weren't able to do the one thing that you really love to do, but you had to do other things. So like what kind of advice would you have for someone like myself, or maybe some advice that you gave to yourself during that time?
It's just like, that's a hard one because like for me, I knew that the more efficient and the more intensive I was about doing the things I didn't like as much, the sooner I could get back to doing the thing I wanted to do more. So like I had like that intrinsic motivation to like, okay, move your body, because the longer you don't, the longer you're going to be in this place of not doing the thing you like to do. So like that's where it's easy for me. Whereas somebody else, let's say they're not coming off of an injury, they just don't like to, work out. It's a lot more difficult because it's like, okay, they can't do this one thing they like to do, which I don't know what it might be for one person over another. So what do they do? And honestly, that's the hardest thing. It's just really finding, just exploring. And another, I guess, piece of like advice I would give someone is find someone to do it with. Rather it be a friend, a brother, a sibling, a sister, a cousin, a mom, a dad, and make it more about an activity with that person instead of an activity you have to do for yourself. Because then when you get an accountability partner, right, there'll be days where that partner's like, hey, where you at? And you're like, shoot, okay, they're waiting for me. Or you end up being that for them, and now it's an activity y'all are doing together, and the focus changes. And that makes it probably easier to do, I think, or easier to attempt to do at least. And like, you know, for people who are like struggling with motivation, because like maybe, sorry, I'm going on a little tangent, but like,
that's perfect.
If you're struggling for motivation and you're thinking like, you know, oh, I did this, but like, I feel like I'm not really doing anything compared to like this guy at the gym who has biceps the size of my head, you know, stuff like that. No matter how fast you're going, I saw this on a painting once. I love it. No matter how fast you're going or how slow you're moving, you're always lapping the person on the couch. Listen to that again. No matter how fast you're moving or slow you're going, you're always lapping the person on the couch. So whereas you may not be seeing the same, you know, gains, benefits, weight loss as the people next to you in the gym, you're seeing way more than the version of you that was on the couch at home yesterday. Right. So
you're almost changing like your perspective of the baseline.
Yeah.
Because I think that like I like that analogy and that kind of line of thinking, because I think that a lot of people look at themselves in a competitive way. And so we compare ourselves to the best, right? Because we want to be the best and we want to learn, we want to be that person. And so say if I'm making music, I'm comparing my music to Cole or Drake.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not on this level. It's not on this level. And I like, you know, then I'm like, well, what's the point of me even making music? You know, because they're so good that like, but then you really think about it, if you were to switch that perspective, it's like, well, I'm making better music than the people who aren't making music. You know, to the people who are not actually trying to make music and to better themselves, I'm doing amazing.
You're doing better than the Nick from 2 years ago, too.
Exactly.
Compete with yourself, you know? Compete with your peers who maybe used to make music and don't.
Yeah.
Like, at least I kept going.
Right.
You know? Yeah, I like that. And I think, like I said, I think when you have someone to do it with, it helps.
Yeah.
You know, like, shout out the homie Mango Angelo. Like, I'm a big fan. Listen, I literally will text you and say, bro, I just listened to Whatchamacallit by Dakota and it smacks. You know,
smacks,
like
yes,
I'm always vibing to his music. But like, I think that's a good example, whereas maybe not necessarily it was the intent of like y'all feeding off of each other, but y'all have done music together before. Y'all are peers. Y'all are like, you know, longtime best friends. Y'all both create in your own spaces. You create in some of the same spaces, but naturally having that friend there who's also doing something you're doing probably just like subconsciously motivates you to continue to keep going, and you probably motivate him as well.
Yeah.
And that applies right back to getting in the gym, getting on the track, whatever you're doing to keep yourself, you know, physically able and healthy. Like you can find someone to do that with. I think it'll make it that much easier.
Yeah, no, that's honestly an amazing point to make, because I think that now that I think about it, you know, with music as well, having that accountability partner to always push when you feel like you're done making the music. And then like, you're right. Like when Dakota would hit me up, he'll send me a beat that he made, or he'll send me this that he made. And then like, I'll send him stuff that I make. And then all of a sudden you start to see that momentum, that kind of energy just kind of multiply and duplicate, because you have someone else who's excited about it, not just you. And I really like,
dog, that happened with us.
Yeah, exactly.
That happened. I came to your studio. I rapped my Go Mode verse for the first time. And in my mind, I went there to do that and leave. We stayed there and created like 2 other songs. Yeah. Like we just started creating.
Yeah.
Like,
and like the next day the next week or 2, I had created some of the best music I've ever created because of that energy, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's a great point, because I think that sometimes when we lack that motivation or accountability or stuff like that, it's hard to do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And I think that's why there are people here, friends and peers and brothers, sisters, family, significant others, because they can really be there as a source of your, like, just accountability or discipline whenever you can't do it yourself, because not every day is going to be a great day. Yeah. You know, there's going to be some days that we push ourselves harder, other days, and today it's just like, I just want to rest. I don't want to do anything. But another piece of thing that like I've continued to think about is that every time I told myself, okay, I'm going to run a mile today, I'm going to do 100 push-ups today, and every time I think about not doing it because of whatever it might be, all the excuses that pop into your head, right? The thing that I've started to combat myself with is, will I regret it if I do it? And 100% of the time, it's no.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
every time you work out, every time you push yourself a little bit harder, you just get out and you do it. There's never a time that after you worked out, you're like, oh my God, ugh, can't believe I did that today.
I'm so mad I worked out.
God, I feel like crap. Like you literally just feel like, I did that.
I did. I got it.
I literally did it.
Like,
and then afterwards, you feel so much better.
Yeah. I mean, there's also like the whole, oh man, I just had it in my head. What the last thing you mentioned, you said, oh yeah. So sometimes when you ask yourself, why would I do this?
Mm-hmm.
Like that, you know how there's always that one person who's like, why not?
Right.
I do that to myself. I'm like, why not? And I'm like,
let's do
if
it.
I can't answer that question, I'm about to go, get it in.
It's that self-talk that's like, I think over time, like we really have to learn and curate that voice in our heads, you know, because I think that the longer that it goes unchecked and unquestioned, the more that leaving it up to your own self to just do whatever is very difficult. And actually, Jill and I talked about this morning. Becoming an adult is very difficult.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, all this structure that you've had your entire life through school, through parents, through certain things is gone.
Yeah.
And now you can do literally whatever you want.
Yeah.
And with that much freedom and with that much amount of responsibility, leaving it up to yourself without having to curate, like, and you don't even know you need to curate your own structure, but you start to be like, oh my God, like, what do I do? Like, what you know, you're just like so scatterbrained now.
No one teaches you to be an adult.
No one. And I think that's the biggest thing that we start to learn as we kind of go on through life is that, oh, I need to curate and create my own structure.
Yeah.
And now it's like exciting because when we were younger, you know, when we are, you know, we want to do something and parents are like, no.
Yep.
Or we're in school and it's like, oh God, I just wish I could I wish I could just work and then go home and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Then you get it and then you're like, why am I unhappy? Like, like you have everything you want, but now it's you who have to push yourself.
Yeah.
And set boundaries and limits and discipline. It's no one else. So it becomes a lot more difficult because those things that you wanted to do are now these things that you have to do.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. No, I resonate with that for sure. I think I had a small similar thought to that because it was like my significant other, she just moved in weekend before last.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And man, the peace that she provides me is incredible. Like the amount of times I will go sit next to her on the couch and just fall asleep because like my soul and my body, my spirit, they're all just at peace. It's amazing. But like I'll wake up and I'll think like, what should we do right now? Like, I feel like, do I need to like do something to fulfill like, you know, her love languages, like quality time, you know. She's very into conversation, you know, and I'm like, how do I always feel like in those moments of just time that you're not doing anything, you should be doing something. Cause like as a kid, when you're growing up, there's always something to do. There's chores, there's homework, there's, you know, getting ready for school the next day. But sure, I get ready for work the next day, but like I don't have to study for work. Right. You know, not my job at least. I know doctors still study, but well, I guess my new job I might have to. But like it's you iron your clothes, you set them out. What are you gonna do the rest of your night? You can play video games if you want, sure, but like what else? Yeah, so I resonate with that a little bit, like trying to figure out, all right, what should I be doing, if anything? Do I have to do something?
And that's another thing too, is like, for you being so multifaceted, you have so many options to choose from, right? You know, and I think that those options can, I don't know if you feel this way, but potentially can feel overwhelming. Like to me, when I'm done with my day and say, okay, I can work on this art piece. I can work on music. I can work on podcast stuff. I can, you know, work on like breakdancing and stuff like that. I'm sitting here like, oh oh my God, there's so much to choose from. You know,
like how do you decide what to
do
and when to do
you
it?
know, exactly. And then you end up doing something that maybe involves none of them. Maybe you just play video games, right? But I guess it's interesting because then I think it's all the intention with everything that you do. What do I feel like I want to do right now?
Yeah. I think a lot of it for me lately has been just what's my biggest want. So like shout out to you pulled this creative piece out of me that I didn't know necessarily was still there in me. And so like now I find myself like writing all the time, listening to music in different ways that I didn't like listen to before. It's like I'm listening to this music now to learn why did they write this way? What were they feeling? How did they do this? How did they do that? A song I'm obsessed with right now listening to is Snooze by SZA, because for one, Leon Thomas, who's top 5 favorite artists of all time for me, he produced that track. He told a story about how she wrote it. Like she she passed by the studio and he was like, you know, doing some ad libs, like those ad libs you hear at the beginning of her song. I think that's him, like with his voice pitched up. Apparently she heard it. She's like, what's that? And he's like, oh, it's a song we were working on. She's like, can I get that track real quick? Yeah. She went in another studio, laid down her verse and like her, you know, hook, and that was it. Wow. And I'm like, how? Wow. Because like when you listen to the lyrics, they sound so like simple, but when you like tie them into each bar and like hear what she's saying, I'm like, is she in a relationship right now? Because I want to know how that man's treating her, because the stuff she wrote is beautiful. Yeah. Like it's incredible. And I want to know how do they do it. And so like, I'm trying to find like my way to like, express like that, because I've never done it. Yeah. Never done it.
You know, it's interesting that you talk about that, because I was having that thought that like this past week, because I like to watch a lot of people in the studio, and I love to watch, and we were talking about Wayne earlier, right? Yeah, yeah. And you start to realize that it becomes a way of talking. Your like music, what I started to realize was that, you know, it's like anything that you try to do in life, like whether it be like a sport, anything that you're training for. You train the muscle of how to do it, and then you start enjoying it, and it becomes a part of your vocabulary and how you speak and how you do things. Like now, like when we're all sitting together and we're writing a verse and I'm able to like just pop one out, that's just because I've been doing that like every day for the past like 5 years, writing. Like if you were to look through all my notes, it's just like so much. And it didn't start to be that way. Like I would have verses and then I'm like, something missing here. And it's critiquing it over and over again and finding your palette to how you like to do things. And then it becomes so natural to you that you get in and it's just how you go about business. Yeah. Like you look at Jay-Z and he freestyles every single song that he does. And it sounds so normal, but he literally is just talking about things that he does. And because he does it so often and that repetition, and like he found a way to literally just talk. And he is in his flow state when he does that, which is crazy.
I love that, just like that artist mindset. Like I'll forever be jealous of people who can just write so well. Like shout out to my sibling Renee, who they wrote 90% of my verse on Go Mode. It was a collaborative effort, but like you hear like these pieces of them in it, but you hear me, but like you hear almost the way they perceive me in it. And I'm like, I wish I could just, you know, just be in your brain for like a minute to see how you see the world, how you perceive the people around you and stuff. Because like the things you're saying from my perspective and the things you think I would say, I would, but like I wouldn't articulate it like this. Right. So it's so cool to hear it. Like literally there's a line in my verse when it says the chemical X in my mojo. I didn't write that line, but I'll get to that. I didn't write that line, but the thing that put me on, that made you want to put me on that song was you heard a freestyle in my stream to Go Mode.
Yeah.
And it was a Mojo Jojo verse.
Yeah.
But my sibling was not in that stream.
Crazy.
They wrote that line and I freestyled mine. That's insane, right? When they said, I think I'm going to put like a chemical X in my Mojo to follow up that line that, you did or whatever. And I'm like, dog,
that's wild.
I literally freestyled that in my stream. And they were like, wait, what? And they were like taken aback. So it's stuff like that. We have kind of like, we're not twins, but we have that twin vibe sometimes where we'll finish each other's sentences or like be thinking the same thing at the same time. But that was the most like astronomical like moment for me. Was like reading that line and thinking, and like there was a couple of lines like that. Yeah. Where like I had my draft of it, they had theirs, and they were similar. Like I was gonna rap a line about a track star called John Drummond. They rapped a line about a track star, Flojo, Florence Joyner. Like, and I'm just like, dog.
That's so crazy.
What is happening? Yeah. And it's no, shout out to them. Like they're incredible.
Y'all should do a siblings joint. I'll produce it.
They would eat me alive on that joint. Their writing is crazy. They're just so analytical with what they do. But I mean, I think I could spar a little bit.
I think so too.
I got the freestyle sometimes.
I think so too. Honestly, I'm gonna say this right now. I think that musically, and maybe it's just because you have a musical background. Mm-hmm. You really listen to music, and like you've always had a passion for music in a lot of different areas and aspects. And I think that now that you're like actually making music, I think that you're just in the critiquing phase of kind of like ripping yourself apart and comparing yourself to people who are at a higher level that have been doing stuff like that for a while. When you should really compare yourself to your previous self, because you are like, and I've told Jill this, like I've told Scott this, like it's like hearing you freestyle. What you have to understand is that freestyling is what most people are envious of. Mm-hmm. Because to be able to sit down and write something, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. But to be able to freestyle it is another talent and skill that a lot of people don't have. And you have that natural ability to freestyle, which is harder to me than writing, like to be able to like literally just spit about all these things and like make it like make sense and have a cadence and whatever, like, and even like your melodies that you come up with and the things that you do on a track, the sunsets in the middle of June, like the fact that you did that's the thing that stuck in my head. You freestyled a melody that's stuck into our heads. Like that's crazy.
I had a lot of fun doing that too. That makes sense what you're saying about the whole critiquing thing, because like I guess I'm so envious of the thing I can't do, which is like, or I don't do well, I should say, as others, which is the writing piece, but also like finally getting my hands on the writing piece and like, that verse in Go Mode on that middle piece when I'm like singing. Yeah. Like I was so proud that I wrote that piece because it's something that maybe I wouldn't have come up with if I freestyled it. And it just felt so like, it felt cool because in my mind, I'm like, somewhere in this verse, I have to find a way to shout out Dakota because I'm so obsessed with this beat. My obsession with this beat is what got me on the song because I freestyled it on my stream. And so I'm like, there's got to be a place. And like, I'm like, it's just not working. I'm like, well, I'm doing like a lot of O rhymes. And I'm like, okay, he's Mango Angelo. So maybe that can fit here. And like it worked in that little singing piece. So shouting him out on that was like a personal important piece, but it was also a small victory because I was struggling so much with the writing piece and like I was able to make that work and it felt really good. So that was
saying. Like you I think that like you really do have it. Like I think that I feel like you could write stuff. I feel like you can write stuff.
I'm trying. I think the Sunset song that we're gonna end up doing.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna turn out pretty dope.
Yeah.
Like I'm excited.
I'm really excited for it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so good. And I really want to finish that. It was the track that we made on that first night that we collaborated on Go Mode.
The Summer Nights one.
Yes,
the
bro.
Summer Nights.
Summer Nights is so good. We're just gonna have a whole we're gonna make an album and we'll just drop it next summer. We'll just make
a little EP.
Yeah, because we have sunsets in the middle of June. Yeah, and we have summer nights, and then we have we can make a couple more joints to just really perfect them, really get everything out, and then just drop it right before the summer. Just have a whole summer joint.
I kind of like it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Sunsets talks about June.
Yep.
Summer Nights are literally summer nights.
Yep.
I was pretty proud of that freestyle too.
Yeah, that was great.
Anytime I freestyled in the past, it's been just for fun with friends.
Yeah.
You know, on a random beat. So this is my first time being able to be in a space where because I don't consider myself a rapper. It's not what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Singing is what I love to do.
Yeah.
I grew up singing since the 3rd grade. In different settings, and this is the first space that I get to kind of combine that.
Right.
Whenever I freestyle, sing melodies,
mm-hmm.
and even in the summer night, every night, me and you, all right, that one, being freestyling that, I was like, oh, that just came out of me.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
and as simple as it was, it felt super cool.
Oh yeah,
super cool.
And when I'm also very impressed about the second part of this podcast, just me boosting you up the whole time. But it's it's the fact that because you have a choir background and you just really know how to use your voice, is that you just know how to deliver your vocals on a recording, which is difficult because a lot of people can hear themselves out loud. If, for example, I'll do something out loud and I'll be summer nights are cold here. And then the second I go into the mic in the headphones, I'm sun. I'm trying to find it, in the mic, because it's different. It's a whole different feeling. Mm-hmm. But you're just so naturally you get on the mic and you're okay, it's here. And then you can just do it. And I'm like, what the heck, bro?
Yeah, I appreciate that. First off, I think for me it's just the choir background.
Yeah.
What I was talking about earlier, the whole I've always had to blend with my surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
I always have to replicate the sound I'm hearing. So as long as I can hear the melody, and I know what my voice knows what key it's in, I can, hopefully for the most part, replicate the melody from my voice, hopefully.
That's so sick. That's so sick.
I try, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
No, you're very talented.
I appreciate that.
And I think that it's super cool being able to make music with you as well, because I feel like we've always talked about it.
Yeah.
We've always talked about it, and we've done little, whether it be little freestyle sessions or messing around.
I'll never forget the union.
Yeah, the union, bro. And it's just cool now being able to, even after college and all these organizations that we're a part of and collaborating with, from you being my big brother to outside in the real world, we still collaborate and do a lot of things and learn and push each other and have all these things. So I'm very grateful to have you in my life. You're a very awesome and genuine person, and it's it's just so fun. We're able to really just some of the tracks that we've collaborated on, I feel so amazing about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to bring that to everybody.
I appreciate you for saying all that. You're still in my life and in my circle for a reason, because you're an incredible human, what I mean? And your friendship, your brotherhood has been really important to me as well. But also from a creative space, you've opened up this kind of outlet, this new outlet for me, something I've been singing all my life, but
right.
I haven't been in a studio singing. I've never sing R&B for something.
Right.
I sing it for the shower. You
right,
know?
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you opened up this space that I get to come in and do this in, but also it's been such a privilege to watch your musical journey and see how much you've grown and how you've gone from kind of wanting to make music to you need 20 minutes to write a verse that I think is like very good. Something I'm playing in my car.
Yeah.
Like I'm going out of my way, skipping through my piece to go listen to your verse.
Yeah.
Like just for fun.
Yeah.
Like just because I want to go listen to it. I want to hear it. You know, like your verse on the Sunsets, we keep talking about the song. We're going to drop it.
We're going to drop it.
We're going to drop
it. We promise.
But his verse is like, I was like, oh, I didn't hear that. Like I couldn't have came up with that. And like, I don't have the musical ear for that. Someone, you know, who is like, you know, a better musician than me might have been like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And like, it made sense after I heard it.
Right.
But like, it wasn't like oh yeah, of course he did that. It was like oh, I didn't know that could exist in that space. So, you know, you're dope as a musician, as a human, as a friend, as a brother. So I appreciate you saying that.
Thank you, man. Yeah. It's cool. I'm glad we have each other, and I think like we're just gravitated towards that energy, and like we're gonna keep coming out with more stuff. I guess to wrap up here, tell the people like where they can find you and what they have to look forward to on your journey.
So y'all can find me on Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. My handle is the same across all socials. It's just anticss, lowercase a, 2 S's. The lowercase a is important. I like the aesthetic of the lowercase a, so I just kept it that. Yeah, you can find me on all those things. As far as what's coming, I definitely want to increase the fitness content a little bit more, start going back to some fashion stuff as well. I've been doing a lot of like more of my Digimon stuff lately, but I definitely want to get back into some of those other facets that I love, like the fashion piece, like being able to present myself with what I wear is so important to me, and it's so much fun. That's why I dressed up today, because like I'm like, oh, I get to dress up, you know, like that's an important piece. So definitely some fashion content coming, some fitness content coming, some food, my 3 F's, you know, or my 4 F's, some fun stuff too, with the Digimon and with the with some video gaming. But yeah, twitch.tv/anticss with 2 S's, lowercase a, YouTube, anticss with 2 S's, lowercase a, Instagram _anticss, lowercase a, 2 S's, all of it.
That man knows how to plug himself. All right, 2 more questions for you to wrap up.
Oh, bet.
1, what does it mean to perfect timing.
Yeah.
What does it mean to create yourself?
What does it mean to create yourself? It's doing everything that you believe makes you who you are as a creative, or expressing it in every way that makes you a creative. So for me, if it means making a video that shows people how to like do a body weight squat properly, like that expression, me always, you know, coming from like a fitness background and like being a fitness instructor, like that teacher mentality, that mentor mentality is something that's always like a part of me. And to express it in a space that is creating something for someone else to observe, that's what it is for me. So like whatever part of you has anything to do with creation and like sharing it. And you don't have to share it with the masses. You can share it with significant others, brothers, sisters, friends, you know. I
love that. That's an amazing answer, to be honest.
I appreciate that.
All right. The next question, there's actually 2 more questions.
Oh, okay, bet.
The next question is, this was a question that the previous guest left, which is, have you listened to All Names Taken?
I have not, but you told me before the pod, and this isn't fake. He literally said, if you haven't listened to this man's music, he's fire. You have to listen. Kuya, I know you'd like it. Those were his words verbatim to me, and like it is on my list. Like
yes,
I will be listening. Yeah.
Hey, he's amazing. So I'm glad. Yeah, when you listen to him, you're gonna be like, oh man, we need to collab with this guy too.
Okay, but if I can keep up, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. 3rd and last question is, what question would you like to leave for the next guest?
How have you fulfilled yourself today? What have you done for yourself today to fulfill yourself, to fulfill what makes you you? You know, like, how do you have a good time in life? Like, think about those things. Yeah.
What a great and deep question to leave them off with. You're gonna leave them.
I mean, we were talking a lot about that, like
Yeah,
that self-fulfillment. So I think that's important.
No, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Man, well, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you
Kuya,
for having me,
always.
my G. Yeah.
Love you, man.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
All love.
And to get us out of here, like always, love yourself, be yourself, and create yourself. Peace. Nice.
That was dope. It's so funny because like we just started talking. I'm like, oh shoot, we're shooting right now.
Yeah. I feel like that's like the most natural way to start it off, you know, like where it's not too much like, you ready?
It felt like we were just catching up, and then
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
glad I was talking like 2 days